This is the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast, episode number 41. Hello and welcome to the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast. I'm your host, Karen McCann. The Christmas Movie Screenwriter is a podcast about writing, producing, directing, and selling Christmas movies. You can find a transcript, show notes, and an action checklist on my website. Just go to Christmas Movie Screenwriter and look for this episode, which is number 41. A quick few words about what I'm working on. Well, it's been a minute since my last podcast. I've been busy. I published my first novel. It's a novella. It's called The Emperor's Curse. It's a murder mystery about stolen gold tied to a forgotten Chinese immortal elixir, which turns a robbery at a small town gold rush museum into a deadly conspiracy. And I got my first author event. You can check it out at KarenMcCann.com. Hopefully you can come and we can meet in person. And Karen is spelled C-A-R-Y-N. And now here is the interview. Tim Clague and Danny Stack are a dynamic writing and directing duo who have made 5 films and a TV series to date. Their sci-fi family film, Future TX, was released in UK cinemas in 2022 and enjoyed a US cinema streaming release in 2023. Their debut was the family action adventure film, Who Killed Nelson Nutmeg, starring Bonnie Wright of the Harry Potter franchise and Hattie Gotobed from Game of Thrones. The film had its world premiere at the BFI London Film Festival. They've directed 3 TV movies for Reel One Entertainment, a summer romance, and 2 Christmas movies. Their award-winning TV series, Dog Years, is available on Amazon. They are passionate filmmakers who work across a wide range of formats and genres, including vertical drama, games, AI, and theater, most notably the play Baby Brain, starring Kimberly Nixon. Well, Tim and Danny, welcome to the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast today.
Thank you.
Now, why don't you take a minute and tell us about yourselves and your business?
Well, Karen, I couldn't have said it better myself there. That was a great bio. That was a great summary of who we are. I mean, obviously, we're just, as a combo, we're Tim and Danny, a writing, directing team. Ever since 2010, we started a podcast together. We started a screenwriting podcast. And then that just kind of was a lot of fun, and we realized we liked collaborating together. And so we took it further, and Tim suggested we make a film, combining our kind of resources and our experience to date, which led to Who Killed Nelson Nutmeg, the family film with Bonnie Wright. And then that went on to Future TX, the sci-fi film, and then getting hired by Reel One, who are now Studio TF1, to do those TV movies. 2 of them were Christmas movies, which we absolutely fell in love with. We love doing. And since then, we've written our own and trying to kind of do bigger and better things, really. So that's just an add-on to the intro that you gave us there.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
we love doing the Christmas movies and Christmas stories. We did anyway before we did them, if you see what I mean. We always loved those kind of films, not just, let's call them like the Hallmark style, but also Elf, Muppets, Christmas Carol, all sorts of different types of Christmas films we enjoy. And so we've been trying to get some more high concept ones. We'll come back around to this later, I'm sure, but we're trying to get some more high concept ones off the ground, some independent ones, as well as continuing to work on the normal TV movie, Christmas TV movie, sort of standard fare. But we love it all, we love it all. We love working with the actors. They're always good fun to do. You never really upset, when you're working on this type of material, because it's just,
yes.
It's always fun, it's always fun. Obviously, there's ups and downs and things go wrong and all this kind of normal adventures that maybe as writers, listening to this, they don't always know about that. There's things happen when you're filming.
Right.
It's not a smooth process. All sorts of different things can occur when you're working with snow and all sorts of things. So, but you work your way through it because it's always going to be fun in the end of the day.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. Now, speaking of Christmas scripts, what are the most common craft problems you see in a Christmas script that kill its chances, even when the core concept is strong?
Well, one of the first things we learned with rom-coms and then with Christmas movies as well, because they tend to be Christmas rom-coms, is the importance of structural beats, key structural beats within the story. None so more important than the meet cute
Right.
that at the beginning of a story, like usually about 10 minutes in. So in old school fashion terms, that would be the inciting incident, but in rom-com terms, that's the meet cute, where the protagonist meets the romantic kind of character that they're going to fall in love with. So I think that's very important for the people making the films, like the TV movies, and it's something that we've learned that some scripts that come to us or even get developed parallel to us, even, and we see them, it's like they don't have that, or they have it very late, or they've tried to play around with the premise, or they've tried to play around with the structure or the storyline, which isn't to say it can't be done, but for, traditional TV movies in the Christmas rom-com way, it's best to kind of stick to the formula, but still entertain us along the way. So, I mean, we're learning this just as much as anybody else out there who's
Right.
tried
Right.
or really loves it. So, but we realize the importance of it more than anything else is like
Yeah.
stick to the process,
I
but
think,
but have fun with it.
yeah, I think one of the things is maybe the way you question. I might have an issue with the way you phrase the question, Karen, actually, because one of the things that we see as being a common problem, actually, is in the premise. So
Huh.
actually, I would say a lot of people's craft's pretty good. There's a lot of good writers out there. There's a lot of good dialogue writing going on. Witty
Uh-huh.
words and nice and people having a good distinctive character in their dialogue. Not everyone's great at those things, but we do see a lot of good people
Right.
doing it. And sometimes the premise isn't strong enough. They've concentrated on the craft. They've got good craft, and it's like a bit of a shame because you're like, this should have been, maybe shouldn't have gone through to script, because actually is the idea strong enough? Is it different enough? Is this too similar to everything else? Hasn't got a new flavor to it? And actually, that would be my number one thing, that where we're and our producer friend as well, we're kind of saying no to a lot of scripts, or oh, we can't do anything with this. It's actually the premise. It's not being strong
Okay.
enough to pull it through, and which is a shame, because like someone's
Which,
gone to all the effort to do all that great script work.
yes. I mean, I read a script recently, and the premise didn't kick in until halfway into the script, which sounds weird,
Oh,
but
that's too
it's
late.
like they were just having so much fun setting up the character and going on a journey kind of
No,
thing.
no.
But the premise really didn't kick in till halfway, and the premise was good, but in terms of taking it on for development, it would be just a long road of just going back to square one and rebuilding from there. So you can see where the problem is. There was lots
There,
of
I
fun
do.
in this script, but the premise just wasn't there.
Well, I hear also from executives that they get scripts, and it's like, well, that's our movie we did 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They've already done it, and
yeah,
that's the challenge for writers. I must say is that
yeah,
you have, well, a couple of years ago you had 150 movies, or I can't remember the statistic, every year, and so trying to keep track of
yeah.
what has not been done yet. But that's the challenge on the writer.
It
But
is. It is. But Kieran, I think for the writers listening, I would say it's about finding their own bit as well, because what's
right,
the angle that they've got, not just their script, but for them themselves. So,
right, right.
like for us, because maybe people can tell from our accents, we both live in England. Danny's originally from Ireland, but we both live in England now. And so for us, our angle, we're always looking for things that we could do over here. Could be we've done a royal one, we did a Christmas royal story, and we want to do more of those. That's our angle, We want to do things that could be filmed in England, and we'd have a bit of fun with it. Could be an English story, doesn't have to be. We'd love to do more of a period kind of one at some, in a Downton Abbey way. So that's our
Okay.
angle, right? We've got an angle, and I think other people should have their angle, which means that they're always going to stand out, rather than trying to. They can't know. No one can know 150 movies, like you said,
Right. Yeah.
every year, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you've got a thing that you're doing, you can keep on top of it and up to date with just your interest.
Right.
What
Right.
is the thing that you can do that maybe other writers can't do, so that you're never doing just a generic copy and paste story. That's
Right.
the number one things that seems to be at the minute getting pushback. We know some really, really talented writers that aren't getting picked up currently. And it's because the
Mm.
ideas are a little bit generic. They could be from 5 years ago. They could
Yeah.
be set anywhere. They you can mix and match it all. It's just too, by the book.
Yeah.
And you've got to
Yeah.
have an angle a little bit now, I think. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
specific to Christmas, Karen, as well, it's something we've learned is if you can take Christmas out of the story and it still works, then you've got a problem. Or for some developers and broadcasters or production companies, it's like you can dress up a premise and put Christmas lights on
Right.
it.
Right.
Doesn't make it a Christmas movie. So if you're
Right.
really going to hit that genre and hit that Christmas story satisfaction, it's got to be a Christmas story inherently, which is a challenge as well because you could come up with a great idea, but you could easily take Christmas out of it, which makes it just harder competitively in terms of what you're writing and what you're pitching. When
Exactly.
people like Hallmark say, would be like, oh well, just take Christmas out of it. We could do that in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's an important thing to
Yeah.
consider.
It, if you could write it as a rom-com without Christmas, that's a danger sign. Now, as writers as you are writers actively pitching Christmas projects, what are buyers asking for right now, and how do those meetings differ when you're being hired purely as directors?
Yeah, different. That's two different, totally different things. So, we're talking to different people, funnily enough. So, if we're talking about just directing something, we very rarely at the start, until a good way into the process, if ever, speak to the writer. And so we're just talking to the producer and so on, and getting hired that way. But when we're doing the writing, we're really starting at the start with the development team. So it's totally different. It's a totally different proposition where obviously we're coming up with the idea, we're pitching a few around, as we said, trying to get that premise nice and strong, making the Christmas central to it. And so we're kind of doing all that. We're doing all that work. And then with the directing, we're coming in quite late, with almost like, oh, this is sort of happening. Do you want to direct it? So it's like, you know, uh, uh, yeah, so different, which is a little bit unusual for filmmaking in general. So
Yeah.
Right.
if you're doing a different type of movie, the writer and director might be working on a package together, and going around and saying,
Right.
yeah, we're doing
Right.
this together with a producer, maybe with some cast attached, than that way of independent filmmaking way. But with the TV movie Christmas movies, it's much more the producer and the production company and the broadcaster are the owners of it. They've picked up a script, developed it, then
Signed
they've
off on it.
signed off on it. That's the end of the writers might have been a year ago. They might be
Yeah.
long gone,
Our
and then and
feedback
then
is
we come
useless
on.
at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what we think about it. Um, but what we found is that the good scripts that we like and the ones we pick up, they've left not actual notes for us, but in their skill, in their craft of writing, they've made it clear for us how to do it. Almost, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? They've helped us with the direction, almost, where it's so clear how it's going to look and feel, and it's really, really solid. Whereas some other scripts are a little bit looser with that, and so we've got to start going, oh well, actually, how do you get from that scene to that scene? Are we going to have to do a montage or transition or whatever? And other writers have almost got that in. They've seen that might be an issue, that transition between scenes, so they've like helped you out in the script. But in a way, I'd say to writers, don't worry about any of that. If it's getting picked up and people like it, there's always the director's always mostly always a good safe pair of hands to look after your script and get it on the screen in the right way.
Yeah.
Do the buyers have they said anything lately about what they're looking for?
Uh, to us, but we're biased. We did hear there's still a good demand in Europe, but less so in America for the royal stories. So
Okay.
still keen on the royal um, uh, angle, uh, and then almost, yeah, like they've reiterated to us what we've already said, which is about the Christmas got to be core to the premise. So I
Right.
think there's been a bit of knockback on things not being, I think, just kind of rewrapped in a Christmas
Right.
wrapping, and
Right.
so yeah, it's got to be core Christmas, and the royal, and in Europe anyway, the royal angle is still a strong angle that they wish there was more of. There's not enough, they feel, but
Wow.
I
It's
think
good to
that
know.
might be an American Europe difference, what
Right.
buyers are looking for in different territories, because it's different, it's different all
Of
around the
course.
world what people want, including in Australia and so on. Like, just what people want out of a Christmas movie is not always exactly the same. So that's part of the buyers and broadcasters and production companies challenge, is finding that common ground enough that the figures add up.
Exactly. Now, when you have pitched a Christmas script with the intention of directing it yourselves, in what ways has that helped or occasionally hurt getting a yes?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we're pitching if it's something we're passionate about. Well, like we've written a few Christmas scripts lately. They've got more our original voice on them, if you know what I mean. So we know that they're a little bit left of center in terms of the traditional TV model. So the fact that we want to direct them helps in that regard because we can kind of pitch the vision a bit more clearly. But it's tricky. So it's like we know them. I think what I'm getting at here is knowing the market well enough so you know who you're pitching to, because we wouldn't pitch those projects that we've developed recently to the traditional TV broadcasters. We'd go more the indie film route. So that's, or a Netflix special kind of thing. So I think that's something we're aware of when we're developing our own projects, but at the same time, still passionate about the TV model versions. And if it's something we're pitching from scratch, then we feel even more passionate about it, or more clearly about it in terms of how we can realize it, how we can really bring it to life. And we get excited about the pitches. And I think the pitches have an extra level of either quality or sense of energy or whatever it might be, that hopefully will get through to the person reading it. Because they read so many, and so many sound similar and sound the same. And we may be
Yes.
retreading some familiar tropes as well, but what we're trying to get across is our passion for it, or our ways of making it come to life, which we would be excited to do in script first, obviously, but sharing all our ideas as we go with the development team, so that they couldn't get anybody else to direct it but us, if you know what I mean, because they could
Okay.
easily hire
Good.
other directors, of course. So yeah.
Okay. Tim, any comment on that?
No, I think that's right. I think it's about understanding, if you're just a writer, some people are writer producers, some people are writer directors, other people are writer actors, some people are just writers. I think it's about knowing your ambition for a script, I suppose, is what we're
Right.
saying there. So, like, if we're going to write and direct it, we know that's what we're aiming for. And we're currently pitching some things where we're just going to be writers, because we know that's going into the system. It's going into the system, and once it's in the system, it's taken off your hands, and you probably won't direct it. You might do, but you might not. It's not the deal.
Right.
There's no writing directing deal, and a lot of companies don't like writer directors particularly, because it's too much
It's a big,
power. Yeah, it's
it's a
too much
bigger
power.
yes. It's a bigger
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly. So it's just about understanding. So we always, when we're coming up with a new idea, sometimes we have an idea, it's just a good idea, and then we're like, yeah, well, when we develop this, how are we developing it? Are we going to develop it
Right.
commercially to put into the system, or are we going to do this independently? And that helps us steer it. And I think any writer can embrace that, just to go, am I going to stick to 100% the traditional model, or am
Right.
I going to team up with a director and a producer with something a little bit different, a little bit more unique or unusual, and breaking a few rules, and but still being
Right.
fun and Christmassy, of course, but just a bit different, a bit wacky or whatever, groundbreaking in some way.
Okay. Now, BH Movies works across service productions, co-productions, and UK indies. How do those different models affect what you need to see on the page before you can say yes to a Christmas project?
Um, it's totally different, if you see what I mean. If we're doing a service agreement, it's kind of it's on the understanding you're just for hire. You're just for
Hmm.
hire. So it's just like you're just doing what you're told in a way. It's all been sorted out. So that's very different to building something from the ground up where you're trying to lead. You're trying to lead with excitement and passion for a project and bring people with you. So it's two vastly different ways of of working.
Right.
But in a way, the audience doesn't care. That's the strange thing about everything we're saying. It's all behind the scenes. The audience doesn't care about that business way that it's happened, and the story doesn't even matter with the story really. But it's a totally different business way. So the whole proposition is different. Like you said, what's on the page, it's all different. It's all different what's on the page and how you're looking at it. So when you're for hire service, it's you're reading anything with regard. Well, this is happening. So how are we going to make it happen? And
Right.
what we're going to have to change to make it happen on budget? Can't do some of the things that the writer's written, for example. Whereas when you're doing an independent or independent thriller or whatever it is, it's much more what you've got to work with and you're writing around that. You're like, oh, well, we've got
Right.
that
Right.
old warehouse down the. Let's write something around that. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right.
it's all different. I think from a writing point of view, writers don't need to worry about that. It's all behind the scenes. It's all our bit.
Okay.
They don't need to. They don't. It doesn't affect them and what they're writing.
Right.
Yeah, because
Okay.
with our background in indie movies, that's obviously where we come from, and we bring a lot of ideas and kind of passionate point of view and what we want to do and how we want to achieve it. But once it goes into the TV Christmas movie system, it's a way to pivot your understanding and your expectations of what's required of you as well. So, as Tim says, the script might need to be rewritten, mainly because of production issues or practical issues, of whatever's going on. And so, but that will go back to the writer via the exec rather than us doing it. And sometimes we would do it on our own projects, and that's fine because we can bring our indie skill and experience to that and apply it however is appropriate, really. But making sure that it goes back to like the structural beats of the genre and how those stories are built and shaped. I think if you have a solid understanding of all of that, then the writing and the writer shouldn't feel adrift in any part of the process. And it's just about, we may have to lose things because of budget level
Right.
and things
We
like
had
that.
in the Royal script that we did make, which we didn't write. There was jousting, and there was no way that was happening for the budget, so it turned into sword fighting, like fencing.
Okay.
So it's annoying, obviously, maybe to that particular writer, but hopefully you can see how that keeps the spirit of the competition and the deadliness of the competition, but
Right.
doesn't
Right.
involve loads of horses and it's just
Yeah.
or that one scene would have been all the budget gone.
And massive
Uh,
ice sculptures and things like that.
yeah, that had to go.
To
It's a
go.
shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
No.
I
Yeah.
think that would be a thing that I would say to writers or would want to tell them about because they might be sometimes perplexed about why things change up to the last minute. And
Mhm.
it's about the weather, it's about actors
Yes.
availability. There's sometimes we've had to go, oh, sorry, can this scene be rewritten without this actor in it, this particular actor or character rather, because the actor can't be there. That would mean bringing them back just for one scene 2 weeks later,
Right.
and they're offered another job. And so you're like, well, that's not really about the story, is it? We're making changes not based on the story now, but we're making it based on the real life. And I understand that writers are like, what's going? Why are these weird notes coming in late? And that's kind of why. It's just you get to the reality of filming something, and all sorts of things happen. And the other reason that things change in a good way, I think, is when the actors get involved. An actor looks at a script in a different way than a writer looks at a script. So a writer looks at it from up above and sees the whole thing, but an actor comes at it in a different, but not better or worse way. They only worry about their character. So you might have written in your script, yeah, so this character goes over there or whatever, because they have to, right? Because they need to, because they've got to set up the next scene. The actor goes, yeah, but why would I? Why?
Right.
Why would my character? They're only worried about what their character was doing. So they might add a line or slip in a bit of something, in discussion with us all, of course. But just look, if I just say, "Oh, I'm going to pop over there later for whatever," that makes it a reason. It makes more sense, and we'll be like, "Oh yeah, that does." And then you can imagine the poor writer looking at it when it comes out, going, "Well, what was that bit? Where was this line come from?" And that's why, because we're there on the day, things have gone wrong, or actors have come up with ideas, and that's why things do drift a little bit. You know what I mean? Over
Right.
time, but not all writers they've not. A lot of writers have never been on set. They never
Yeah.
never seen it, and we forget that sometimes when there's sort of various confusion when we meet up with them later, and they're like, "What happened to that scene?" And you just like,
Yeah.
well, this light fell over and smashed in the theater, and it's just like, that's not their fault. Absolutely nothing to do with their writing. It's just something happened, other things happened, someone was away, someone got food poisoning. These aren't good
Happens.
reasons, but these are reasons that these are what happens, and
Yeah.
no one's got the budget necessarily to go back and reshoot everything. So if
Right.
you can get away with it, edit around it, and it's still a good story, you might go for that option rather than choose to go back and do a reshoot. But we have done reshoots where it's necessary. Something's happened, but you have to have it. It's so key and important. We go back and film it again. But that's always the balance,
You're making
Yeah.
me think of an opposite example of that, Tim. In one of our Christmas movies, there was a scene that even when we were reading it in the script, thinking, "Well, that's kind of an unnecessary scene. We could probably cut it from the whole schedule," but it kept in the schedule. And then when it came to filming it, and we were a bit behind time, it was just like, "Let's just cut it. We will never make the edit, even if we film it." And I
Right.
was adamant, going, "No, let's cut it." And then Tim was just like, "No, we should do it anyway, just so the exec knows we've done it." So the exec was like, "Yes, thank you. Yes, yeah, thanks for doing the scene." Didn't make the cut.
I
It's like
get,
we
you were
knew we
right.
knew it wouldn't be in there.
You were right.
So
You were
it's just
right.
But
it
you
was
never
the
know.
opposite.
This is the
But
thing.
you never
You don't
know.
know. You don't know, because the other thing is sometimes actors really bring something to life in a way you weren't expecting,
That's true.
including the writer. They've written you've written a scene, and you're pleased with the scene, but the actor, by thinking about their character only and not the scene as a scene, but only their part of the scene and what that character wants to achieve in that conversation, they bring an added depth to it or something, and suddenly what seemed a pedestrian scene, maybe just a joining scene to get people into the main thing that's going to happen, is suddenly brought to life. And
Right.
that's the magical excitement of film, or drama in general. You never
Yeah.
know quite what's going to happen. Sorry,
That's
Karen, with a terribly long
No,
answer.
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no. It's good. Good.
That's why we love directing as well, Karen, rather than just writing, because of working with the actors. Because even in a small detail of blocking, where they might move, might open up a scene in ways that we hadn't realized, and you get a lovely shot or you get a lovely moment just because of the actor's impulse to, I want to fiddle with this globe while he's talking to me, kind of thing. So it's just like, yeah, great, and that adds a little bit of subtext or whatever. So you just never
Yeah.
know, and this is why there's added elements of story that we can find by collaborating with the actors and the writer. I mean, we try to speak to the writers wherever we can when we're directing other people's material, but it's not always possible, and we have to follow the exec whatever they want as well.
Right.
But we always like to check in, just to say hello and see how they're feeling, what really, and things like that. Just that basic level of respect, really, because we're writers as well, and we know what the process is like.
Exactly. Well, we know that Christmas movies tend, dare I say, be formulaic. And this next question, I've never asked it, but I've always been curious. You balance thrillers, romance, and Christmas films. What lesson from thrillers or genre storytelling do you wish more Christmas movie writers applied to their scripts?
Keeping it tight, which obviously we're not doing in our discussion here today. But I think. So I'll give a short answer to that. Yeah, I think with a thriller, they tend to be very, very tight, very focused, and they set out what they're going to do, and they do it. And even a high budget John Wick kind of action thriller, it's on track. It's on the railroad tracks. It just sticks and it does it. And I think that could be applied to some Christmas movie scripts that we've read that we haven't done. It's just they were a little bit meandering and
falling in love with the dialogue a bit, maybe as well.
Yeah, and lots of subplots that don't really go anywhere, or they're not on theme. They're just fancy, just bits of fancy. And there's room for that, but it's just I'm not saying to get through the script as quickly as possible, but I think thriller writers know the boxes they're trying to tick much better, and I think they know their structure really, really well. And
lean and pacey, isn't it? Thrillers
lean and pacey,
but rom-coms could be the same as well.
When
Harry Met Sally, right, classic rom-com, is so lean. It's like it's an hour and a half. It's not even longer than that. And I can't think of a better rom-com than that. And that's a kind of a Christmas movie, stroke New Year's.
There you go. That's right. Now, for writers outside the UK, what should they understand about tax incentives, locations, or co-production realities that might influence how they structure a Christmas movie for a company like BH Movies?
I think don't worry about that. Don't worry about that too much, because I think that's such a level of detail that I wouldn't want
producer level detail.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want writers to get into that, because it might throw them off a little bit, or sometimes someone will say something to us where they've half heard something. They're like, "Oh, I've written this because," but they haven't quite fully understood all the brief or all the details of that particular incentive, so it wouldn't be eligible anyway. So it's like, well, have you ruined the story to try and jump through some hoops that you didn't need to, and so on. So, and the other thing is, our producer friend Adam that we work with at BH Movies, he did a film a couple of years ago now about Honey Boo Boo, the reality TV star, which was filmed in England, but obviously it takes place in Georgia. So the writer of that didn't think it was going to be filmed in England. They don't need to know that, okay? It doesn't matter. So I think it's so, and again, there's a lot of things that are set in England that are filmed in Canada. So I think writers don't worry about any of that. What's best for the story? Get that, and then it'll be sorted out behind the scenes. Where's the best place to do it? They shouldn't be distracted by that.
Yeah, there's no harm having the knowledge about it, so you can contribute to the conversation or just understand the conversation in terms of the practicalities involved with co-productions or various tax incentives. But creatively, I wouldn't let me. I wouldn't worry about it.
But couldn't that be an opportunity for writers if suddenly Malta or whoever is offering 30, 40, 50%? I mean, if I was thinking, well, where can I sell my script? I might look at co-productions.
Yes, but like say you were doing something that was filmed in Malta. So Malta, great tax incentive, you're right, 40%. But Malta, great location as well, because that can double up for Spain, France, Mexico. So, does that mean you shouldn't be writing something that's set in Malta? Maybe you've got a great, story set in Mexico, and maybe it ends up getting filmed in Malta, right? But you don't need to know that particularly.
Yeah, that's true.
Is it a good story? So these locations, they can double up for so many different different
Right.
places that
That's right.
that's what I mean by it can be a distraction, because you might end up not with the best story, and that's
Right.
what we want. That's always what we want.
Right. Okay. Now, if a writer could only fix two things before sending you a Christmas script, what would one "don't do this" and one "definitely do this" piece of advice you'd give to Christmas movie screenwriters?
Oh,
Uh,
you do
go
the
on.
don't, Tim. I'll do the do.
All right, yeah, that's good, isn't it? We might end up with a double negative though.
Yeah.
Uh, I think. Well, almost. Funny enough, I think the dote is what I've just said. That's the bad news. We kind of answered that question twice, because I think writers don't need to worry about those details, those production details, um, or try to be clever with that, and kind of
Right, right.
write for something that doesn't need writing for. So I think that can hamper some scripts' chances where people have compromised on the quality of the story to try and jump through some hoops that they think exist, when maybe they do, when maybe they don't. And
Okay.
I think
Good.
I think that's the kind of don't chase don't chase something, so like the other thing that's a bit akin to that is, for example, say, I'm just saying this as an example, but say suddenly there was three hit Christmas dog films out, last year. They're suddenly writing a dog one because they're chasing that opportunity, and it's like, no, that's gone. That's
That's
gone. So
gone.
it's
Yeah.
almost like, do what you want to do it, do what your angle is. Don't worry about, don't chase those trends, because those trends were in fact 2 or 3 years ago when the writer was working on it. So if you
Right.
start doing your Christmas dog movie now, you're 2 or 3 years behind, not a few months behind. So it's kind of like, don't jump on those bandwagons or chase something that you've half heard about. Just work on
Yeah.
your good story, your classic storytelling.
Okay. Danny?
Okay, do for absolutely 100% certain, get your first act absolutely watertight. And your first 25 to 30 pages, make sure it's doing all the heavy lifting in a very clear and engaging way. So you've set up your main character, you've had the meet cute, you know what the main character wants to achieve in the story, you know the main conflict that they face. And so by the end of Act 1, whatever's happened, it's almost like the reader or the exec is just sitting back, relaxing, going, I'm in for the show now. Because everything's so clear, everything's so engaging. I'm right beyond, I understand what the protagonist wants. I understand who this protagonist is. And so they should almost be looking forward to that Act 2 shenanigans. And it's so easy. First acts are very difficult to get the balance right sometimes, and get the right information across, and how you set up certain things, and getting the tone that you want to convey. But once you get that first act, the way you want it, and you think it's working crystal clear, it's, everything else can be fixed, if you know what I mean. It's just the first act, you're off to the races. That goes across any genre, really, because I used to be a script reader for many a year, and I realized that first act, if it wasn't giving me all the information that I wanted to know, I was in trouble reading forward. But even more so in a Christmas movie,
Right.
in terms of making it sure it's Christmas inherent to it, that main character setup, the clear goal, the clear obstacles, the clear meet cute, and you just want to settle down and enjoy it.
Yeah, good. Now, for writers hoping to work with BH movies specifically, what is the best way to build a relationship?
Okay, I've come up with the term, Tim. I've created a new term,
Oh,
and
this is exciting. Is
it's
it? Are we debuting it here?
I'm debuting it here.
Oh
Absolutely,
my goodness!
it literally
Go on
came
then.
to me during the telephone call,
Okay.
and it's like, if they can come with creative equity, and what I mean
Okay.
by that is, they may not have money to bring, but they might have some sort of mini package in terms of
Okay.
that would boost the creative appeal of it. So I'll give you an example. The writer's best friends with Alicia Silverstone or something like that. And Alicia said
Okay.
she'd do it if there was a producer involved, and she desperately wants to do it in England. So you could be the company to really take it on board. So it's like
There
that
you,
makes it exciting in terms of, we got to extra creative in there. That actually helps
yes.
the financial side without actually costing a penny for anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
So
we're saying that, Karen, just because that's us working over here as independents. So
Right.
like for us to take something on independently outside of the system, we need that angle. If
Right.
people have got they don't know anyone, a lot of people haven't gotten in, they haven't, they're not part of the system, they weren't born into it, they've not got an uncle who's head of Warner Brothers or anything. Then stay within the system, and we might end up with the project via the system, if you see what I
Right.
mean.
Right.
But if you got the independent but a bug and you want to do something independent, it's about the script needs to be more than just the script at that point.
Right.
If it's just the script, let's keep it within the system where there's development money, and that kind of thing. That's better for writers, right? If we're taking something independently, it's much more around, well, we need a script and a package and who's going to be
Right.
the cast, and we've got to build something together. So we want to be, as Danny says, have that creative equity, great term, to be like, well, we've got more than just a story. We've got a script and whatever. And then, oh yeah, well, maybe we can do something together then with this great start that you've got, and we can build on that with our contacts and bring something equal as well. And now we've really got something. So yeah, it's just about, not every movie and not every writer is going to fit that independent model. But
Right.
if they do, yeah, then join in. Let's do something together.
And even if it's something just a bit more to your writer's profile, they won the Big Break romantic comedy competition where there was 3,000 entries. So that's going to be quality in some way.
Yes.
Just has that
Right.
extra bit of a glint or appeal to you, rather than I'm just a screenwriter from Dakota who loves movies.
Yeah.
Something that really has to break through now. You really have to be passionate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially on the independent route. I think it's about also what does suit the independent route is a personal story. That could be a bit of
Yes.
creative
Yes.
equity as well, where someone says this is based upon something that happened to me, or something that happens, a weird Christmas tradition from my
Right.
small hometown. You'd be like, oh, this is interesting. This
I'm
is
leaning in
interesting.
already. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an angle there. No,
Good.
well, because no one else can write it, because only you know about it. Could
True.
be about, maybe if you're a deaf writer, it could be about, a deaf protagonist who's in the Christmas movie, whatever it
There you
is.
go.
I
There
think
you
that
go.
that's more. That would be more our independent angle. It needs something like that. But that's, again, not to say there isn't a home for the more traditional route. It would just be within the system, more of a studio film.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. To wrap up, would you like to share any links or social media details so our audience can keep track of your work?
You'll find us easily,
Yeah.
across the mall, really.
Yeah.
We're very excited at the moment about our new play, because we haven't done theatre before. So we've got into the Edinburgh Fringe and a few other places. So we're taking that on tour this year. It's called Baby Brain, so you can check that out online.
Yeah.
We've
If you
got
want
a
to,
Kickstarter for it as well to
Yeah.
help fund it. So please check that out.
check that
But
out.
you'll find us, Danny Stack and Tim Clague, individually
Yeah.
and together.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
where else?
Easy. If you want to check out BH Movies, it's just BH Movies, as a handle. And myself and Danny, when we're doing our independent movies, our children's movies and so on, we do that under the brand of Nelson Nutmeg Pictures. So again, Nelson Nutmeg Pictures. So BH Movies, Nelson Nutmeg Pictures, Baby Brain, the play. One of those three, all of them. We're
All of
on all
them.
those. We're
Right
easy
to
to
us.
find. We're easy.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
easy
yeah.
to find.
We want fan letters now, Karen. We expect more of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Amen to
No, but
that.
we're very, we are very supportive. We of people with their questions and so on. We used to do back in the day UK scriptwriters podcast for many years, and it was great just hearing from writers on the way up. And now people have got their successful careers and everything. It's good to see that. So we always
Yeah, yeah.
do like to hear from people, and especially other writers, because we're writers as well as directors and producers, and it's just good to share those war stories and successes and failures. And we all have knockbacks, don't we? With our writing
Yeah.
or struggles. And we've all been through it before. So if we can share it, it's like less, isn't it? It makes it into
Exactly.
more of a fun time for everyone. So yeah, people should reach out. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Tim and Danny, thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience. Thank you for coming on the Christmas Movie Screenwriter podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for my action checklist. I have 5 items for your action checklist from my interview with Tim and Danny. Number 1, strengthen your premise until it feels distinct and pitchable in one sentence. And if it sounds like 5 existing movies, keep pushing. Number 2, make Christmas essential to the plot, not decorative. If you can remove Christmas and the story still works, rebuild the concept. Number 3, rewrite your first act to clearly establish protagonist, goal, conflict, and meet cute within the opening pages. Number 4, identify your niche or angle, setting, character type, or tone that makes you stand out in a crowded Christmas market. Number 5, add creative equity to your pitch package, such as casting ideas, audience hook, or contest win, so you are offering more than just a script. And as an aside, it's nice to know that Christmas movies about royalty are still in demand in Europe. So if you've got an idea, go for it. Well, that's the show. Thank you for listening. To show your support, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can fuel more great content by buying me a hot cocoa on Buy Me a Coffee. Just look for the page Christmas Movie and explore other inspiring podcasts and blogs on the website at christmasmoviescreenwriter.com. I'm your host, Karen McCann. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next Christmas Movie Screenwriter podcast. Bye.